when we say, we throw that term out, insulin resistance, what is insulin resistance?
Before anybody's even diagnosed with diabetes, like
They have it.
6 to 14 years with insulin resistance. That's what the studies show.
When we say, we throw that term out, insulin resistance, what is insulin resistance? Meaning, I always say, so many people don't feel well because they have hormone resistance.
Yeah.
Insulin resistance.
Insulin is a hormone that is responsible. It's an energy sensor. So it's responsible for taking excess blood sugar out of the bloodstream and putting it into your cells. And let's say you have a high carbohydrate meal. You'll have an increase in your blood sugar levels. Insulin will get produced by your pancreas to clear that, so it regulates your blood sugar levels. Until there's some disruption, what we have been calling this metabolic blackout, where the receptor sites for insulin are now inflamed, primarily through toxins, but also through constant glucose and insulin spikes as well, and stress and other factors. But now it's toxins being number one. Now those receptor sites that used to hear the message for insulin, they're starting to not hear it as well. When we're having these constant glucose insulin spikes from carbohydrates and even cellular inflammation, we go deaf. So what happens is now you're resistant to the hormone insulin resistant, which is not the solution, but you actually go more deaf. And then you trigger diabetes. And that takes 6 to 14 years, meaning your blood sugars and A1C will not change for 6 to 14 years, even though you have full-blown insulin resistance.
What are the best tests for someone? Because if I'm out there listening to this, I'm thinking, well, how do I know? How do I know? What tests should they take? Because the doctor won't even say anything to you until you have diabetes.
Correct.
And
they're not running a fasting insulin.
Right. Okay. So what
That's
test?
the test. It's a blood test. It's called a fasting insulin blood test. It's not the same as a fasting glucose, and it's not the same as an A1C.
What should that number be?
For a fasting insulin, it should be between 3 and 6. So you go into that test 12 to 14 hours without food, simple blood draw. And if it's between 3 and 6, you're very insulin sensitive. If you're 12, 17, 21, it's insulin resistance. And your conventional doctor will never order that test. Why would your doctor order a fasting insulin test when they cannot prescribe a medication for high insulin? Why would I run that if there's not a prescription? But they could run a glucose because they could run a prescription for that.
Yeah.
But that takes 6 to 14 years before you see a change.
Yeah. So the insulin reacts first. That's why it's the best test. There's a couple other tests you like.
Yeah, and a fasting glucose is great.
Yeah.
An A1C is great. An A1C is looking at the 3-month average of your glucose.
Right.
And if that's elevated, you're...
Yeah, and that one will creep up early before your glucose shows, before your doctor would tell you have a problem.